The night they took me, I thought I was dying. The light was so bright it burned through my eyelids, and when I opened my eyes, I wasn't in my bedroom anymore. I was somewhere else, somewhere impossible. And what they showed me about Jesus, about his return, about the end of everything we know, it shattered every belief I ever had. Before I tell you what I saw up there, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button. Because once you hear my story, once you see what they showed me, you'll never look at the sky the same way again. You'll never look at faith the same way again. This is my testimony, and I swear to you, every word is true. I never believed in aliens. Not really. Sure, I'd seen the movies, read the articles about UFO sightings, but I always thought it was nonsense. People looking for attention, or maybe just misunderstanding what they saw. I was a simple man. I worked construction, went to church on Sundays, kissed my wife goodnight, and fell asleep with the TV on. That was my life. Predictable. Safe. Until October 14th, 2023. It was a Friday night. I remember because I'd just gotten paid, and my wife Sarah had made my favorite dinner, pot roast with mashed potatoes. We ate together, laughed about our day, and I told her I loved her before heading to bed around 10 p.m. She stayed up to watch some show. I was exhausted. My body sank into the mattress like a stone. I don't know what time it happened. Maybe midnight. Maybe later. But I woke up to a sound, a low hum, like the whole house was vibrating. At first I thought it was a truck passing by, but it didn't stop. It got louder, deeper. My chest started to vibrate with it. I opened my eyes, and that's when I saw the light. It was coming through the window, but it wasn't normal light. It was white, but also blue, and it pulsed like a heartbeat. I tried to move, to get up, to call for Sarah, but I couldn't. My body was frozen. Not paralyzed. Frozen. Like every muscle had been locked in place by some invisible force. Panic flooded through me. I tried to scream, but no sound came out. Then the light intensified. It filled the room, swallowed everything. The walls, the furniture, Sarah sleeping beside me. And then I felt it. A pull. Like gravity had reversed, and instead of holding me down, it was lifting me up. I was floating. My body rose off the bed, weightless, and I watched as the ceiling got closer and closer. I thought I was going to hit it, but I didn't. I passed through it, like it wasn't even there. The last thing I saw before everything went white was Sarah, still asleep, her chest rising and falling peacefully. I wanted to reach for her, to wake her, to tell her something was wrong, but I couldn't. And then she was gone. The house was gone. Everything was gone. When the light finally faded, I wasn't in my bedroom anymore. I was floating, in a massive room. The walls were smooth, metallic, glowing faintly with that same pulsing light. There were no windows, no doors, just me, suspended in this impossible space. And then I heard it. A voice, not in my ears, in my head. Do not be afraid. But I was. God help me, I was terrified. I tried to move, to turn around, to find where that voice came from. But my body still wasn't my own. I hung there in that glowing room, my heart hammering so hard I thought it would burst through my ribs. The air felt thick, electric, like right before a lightning strike. And then I saw them. They emerged from the walls, Or maybe they were always there and I just couldn't see them. 3 figures, moving toward me with a grace that didn't seem human. They were tall, maybe 7 feet, with smooth gray skin that reflected the light like polished stone. Their heads were larger than ours, shaped like teardrops, and their eyes, God, their eyes, were huge, black, endless, no pupils, no whites, just darkness that seemed to pull you in if you stared too long. I wanted to scream. I wanted to run. But all I could do was float there and watch as they came closer. One of them stopped directly in front of me. It tilted its head, studying me the way a scientist studies a specimen under a microscope. I felt naked, exposed, like it could see through my skin, into my bones, into my soul. Why am I here? I finally managed to think the words, and somehow I knew they could hear me. The being didn't speak with its mouth. It didn't have one, not really, just a small slit where a mouth should be. But the voice returned, calm and steady, echoing in my mind. You have been chosen to witness, to remember, to tell. Tell what? My thoughts were frantic now, scrambling. Tell who? I don't understand. Please, I just want to go home. I want to see my wife. Please. The being raised one long, thin hand. It had 4 fingers, each ending in what looked like a small pad instead of a nail. It placed the hand on my forehead, and the moment it touched me, everything changed. Warmth flooded through me. Not physical warmth, something deeper. It was like every fear, every doubt, every ounce of panic dissolved in an instant. I felt calm, safe. And then the images started. They came fast, like a movie playing at triple speed directly into my brain. I saw Earth from space, spinning slowly in the void. I saw cities burning. I saw oceans rising. I saw people screaming, running, praying. I saw the sky split open, and someone, descending through the clouds. A figure made of light so bright I couldn't look directly at it, even in my mind. And then I heard another voice. Not the alien's voice. This one was different. It was warm, deep, full of authority and love all at once. It said one word, soon. The being removed its hand from my forehead, and the visions stopped. I gasped, my lungs filling with air like I'd been drowning. I looked at the creature, trembling. Was that him? Was that Jesus? The being didn't answer. It just turned and glided back toward the wall, leaving me alone with the question that would haunt me forever. Time felt strange in that place. I didn't know if minutes were passing or hours. There were no clocks, no windows, no sense of day or night. Just the hum of the ship. I assumed it was a ship. And the steady pulse of that eerie light. My body had regained some movement. I could turn my head now, flex my fingers, but I still couldn't leave. It was like invisible chains held me in place. The 3 beings returned. This time they didn't approach slowly. They moved with purpose, surrounding me in a triangle formation. The one who had touched me before, I'll call him the leader, stepped closer again. His black eyes locked onto mine, and I felt that same pull, that same sense of being completely exposed. You asked about the one you call Jesus, the voice said in my mind. It wasn't a question. It was a statement. Yes, I thought back, my pulse quickening. Was that him? In the vision? He is known by many names across many worlds, the leader said. the Christos, the Anointed, the Light-bearer, the Redeemer. He is not bound by your understanding of time or flesh. He is beyond. I didn't understand. My Sunday school lessons hadn't prepared me for this. But he was a man. He walked on earth. He died on a cross. He rose again. That's what the Bible says. Your scriptures tell truth, but not all truth, the voice replied. What you saw in the book is one chapter of an infinite story. The being you call Jesus has existed before your earth was formed. He has walked on countless worlds, in countless forms, bringing the same message: love, redemption, unity. My head was spinning. Are you saying Jesus is an alien? The beings didn't react to my thought, but I felt something shift in the air, a ripple of what might have been amusement, or maybe pity. We are all children of the Creator, the leader said. You, us, the stars, the dust. What you call alien is simply family you have not yet met. Jesus is not one of us, but he moves among us. He is the bridge between the Creator and all creation, and he is returning. When? The question burst out of my mind before I could stop it. When is he coming back? Soon, the voice said again, and this time I felt the weight of that word press down on me like a physical force. The signs have already begun. Your world is fracturing. The wars, the plagues, the hatred, it is all acceleration. The crescendo before the return. Why are you telling me this? I asked, my voice, my thoughts breaking. Why me? I'm nobody. I'm just a construction worker from Ohio. I'm not special. The leader tilted his head again, and for the first time I thought I saw something like compassion in those endless black eyes. That is exactly why you were chosen, he said, because you will be believed. And then the floor beneath me opened, and I began to fall. I didn't scream. I wanted to, but the air was ripped from my lungs as I plummeted through the opening beneath me. The metallic room disappeared above, swallowed by darkness, and all I could feel was the sickening lurch of gravity pulling me down, 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 into nothing. My stomach twisted, my arms flailed uselessly, and for a moment, just a moment, I was certain I was going to die. But then, just as suddenly as the fall began, it stopped. I wasn't on solid ground. I was floating again, suspended in what looked like empty space. Stars surrounded me, thousands, millions of them glittering like diamonds on black velvet. I turned my head, and below me, impossibly close and impossibly far at the same time, was Earth. Blue and green and beautiful and fragile. Do you see it? The voice returned, softer now, almost reverent. See what? I thought back, my breath still catching in my chest. Your home. Small, precious, dying. I stared at the planet below, and for the first time I really saw it. Not as a map or a globe in a classroom, but as a living, breathing thing. I could see the swirl of clouds over the oceans, the sprawl of cities glowing like embers in the dark, the thin veil of atmosphere clinging to its surface like a blanket. And I could see the scars, the brown patches where forests used to be, the smoke rising from under the different fires, the storms churning over the seas, bigger and angrier than they should be. Why are you showing me this? I asked, and my voice, my thoughts, cracked. Because you must understand what is at stake, the leader said. Humanity stands at a crossroads. One path leads to destruction, the other leads to transcendence, and the return of the Christos will determine which path you take. I don't understand, I said. If Jesus is coming back, won't he save us? Isn't that the whole point? He will offer salvation, the voice replied. But salvation is not the same as rescue. He will not force you to choose the light. He will simply reveal it. And those who reject it will face what they have created. A chill ran through me, even though I couldn't feel temperature in that place. What do you mean, what we've created? The stars around me began to shift. They pulled away, rearranging themselves into shapes, into images. I saw cities crumbling. I saw oceans boiling. I saw the sky turning red, choked with ash and smoke. I saw people, millions of them, fleeing, fighting, crying out for mercy that didn't come. And above it all, I saw that same figure of light descending from the heavens, arms outstretched, face hidden in brilliance. But this time, I also saw the ones who turned away, the ones who covered their eyes, who cursed the light, who chose the darkness even as it consumed them. Is this the end of the world? I whispered. It is the end of an age, the leader said, and the beginning of another. The question is, which side will you be on? The visions faded, and I was back in the ship, or wherever I was. My body felt heavy now, like gravity had returned with a vengeance. I was standing on solid ground, though I didn't remember landing. The three beings were still there, watching me with those unreadable eyes. My mind was reeling, struggling to process everything I'd just seen. I don't know what you want from me, I said aloud this time, my voice hoarse and shaking. I'm just one person. What am I supposed to do with this? You will tell them, the leader said simply. You will return to your world and tell them what you have seen. You will warn them. You will prepare them. Prepare them for what? The end. How do you prepare for the end? My voice rose, panic creeping back in. And who's going to believe me? They'll think I'm crazy. They'll lock me up or laugh at me or... Some will believe, the voice interrupted gently. And for those who do, it will be enough. I shook my head, backing away from the beings even though I had nowhere to go. No. No, I can't. I'm not a preacher. I'm not a prophet. I'm just... You are exactly what is needed, the leader said. And this time all three beings stepped forward in unison. The world does not need another religious leader. It needs a witness. Someone ordinary. Someone relatable. Someone who can say, I saw it, and it changed me. Tears burned in my eyes. I thought of Sarah asleep in our bed. I thought of my coworkers, my friends, my neighbors. I thought of all the people going about their lives, completely unaware that the clock was ticking down to something unimaginable. What if I refuse? I whispered. The beings were silent for a long moment. Then the leader spoke again, and there was something in his tone, something almost sad. Then you will return home, and you will forget. You will wake up in your bed, and this will feel like a dream. But deep inside you will know it was real, and when the signs begin, when the sky opens and the Christos returns, you will remember, and you will regret that you said nothing. The weight of those words crushed me. I dropped to my knees, my hands covering my face. I didn't want this. I didn't ask for this. But somewhere, in the deepest part of my soul, I knew I didn't have a choice, not really. "Okay," I finally said, my voice barely a whisper. "Okay, I'll do it. I'll tell them." The beings nodded, or at least I think they did. It was hard to tell with creatures that barely moved. The leader stepped forward one last time and placed his hand on my forehead again. This time, instead of visions, I felt warmth, peace, and a single thought that wasn't mine. Go in courage. You do not walk alone. And then everything went black. When I opened my eyes, I was in my bed. The clock on the nightstand read 3:47 a.m. Sarah was still asleep beside me. But I knew. God help me, I knew it wasn't a dream. The first thing I did when I woke up was check my body. I ran my hands over my arms, my chest, my legs, looking for marks, burns, anything that proved I'd been taken. There was nothing. My skin was the same as it always was, pale, freckled, showing the wear of 43 years of life. But I felt different, not physically, internally. Like something inside me had shifted, realigned, awakened. I sat up slowly, careful not to wake Sarah. The room looked exactly as it had when I'd gone to sleep. The TV was still on, playing some late-night infomercial on mute. The laundry basket sat in the corner, half full. The curtains were drawn. Everything was normal, except me. I got out of bed and walked to the window. My hands trembled as I pulled back the curtain and looked up at the sky. It was clear, scattered with stars, the moon hanging low and full. Somewhere up there, I thought. Somewhere beyond what I can see, they're watching. And he's coming. I must have stood there for 20 minutes, just staring, until Sarah's voice pulled me back. "Babe? You okay?" I turned. She was sitting up in bed, rubbing her eyes, her hair messy and beautiful. She looked so normal, so safe. And I realized in that moment that I had no idea how to tell her what had happened. "Yeah," I lied. "Just couldn't sleep." She frowned. "You look pale. Are you getting sick?" "No, I'm fine. Just a weird dream." She studied me for a moment, then patted the bed beside her. "Come back to sleep. You've got work in the morning." I climbed back into bed, but I didn't sleep. I couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw those beings. I saw the visions. I heard the voice. "You will tell them." But how? How do you tell your wife that you were abducted by aliens and shown the return of Jesus Christ? How do you tell anyone without sounding completely insane? The next few days were hell. I went to work, swung a hammer, made small talk with the guys on the crew. But my mind was somewhere else. I kept looking up at the sky. I kept thinking about the visions, the burning cities, the rising oceans, the figure of light descending. I barely ate, barely slept. Sarah noticed. Of course she did. "You need to see a doctor," she said one night over dinner. "You're not yourself." "I'm fine," I said, pushing food around my plate. "You're not fine," she insisted. "You've been acting strange since Friday. You barely talk to me. You stare off into space. You're scaring me." I looked at her then, really looked at her, and I saw the worry in her eyes. And I couldn't hold it in anymore. I put down my fork, took a deep breath, and said the words that would change everything. Something happened to me. That night. Something impossible. And I need you to listen, even if you don't believe me. Her face paled. What are you talking about? I was taken, I said, by something, and they showed me things, terrible things, and beautiful things. And they told me I have to warn people. I have to tell them that Jesus is coming back. Sarah stared at me for a long time. Then she stood up, walked to the phone, and picked it up. What are you doing? I asked. Calling your brother, she said quietly. I think you need help. I didn't let her make the call. I grabbed the phone from her hand, gently but firmly, and hung it up. She stepped back, her eyes wide, and for the first time in 15 years of marriage, I saw fear on her face. Fear of me. Sarah, please, I said, my voice breaking. I'm not crazy. I know how this sounds, but I swear to you, I'm telling the truth. Something happened to me. I was taken. I saw things, real things. She shook her head slowly, backing toward the door. You need to hear yourself right now. Aliens? Jesus. This isn't you. This isn't the man I married. I know, I said, and tears started streaming down my face. I know it sounds insane, but it happened, and I can't explain it any better than that. I just need you to trust me. Please. For a moment, she just stood there, her hand on the doorframe, her body halfway out of the kitchen. I could see the war happening inside her, the part of her that loved me fighting with the part that was terrified I'd lost my mind. Finally, she took a deep breath and came back to the table. She sat down, folded her hands, and looked at me with the kind of calm you use on someone you think might be dangerous. Okay, she said softly. Tell me everything, from the beginning. So I did. I told her about the light, the paralysis, the beings, the visions. I told her about the leader, about what he'd said about Jesus, about the warning. I told her everything, and the whole time she just sat there, listening, her face unreadable. When I finally finished, the kitchen was silent, except for the hum of the refrigerator. Do you believe me? I asked. She looked down at her hands. I believe that you believe it happened. That's not the same thing. I know. She looked up at me and her eyes were wet. But I can't just accept that my husband was abducted by aliens. That's not how the world works. Maybe it is, I said. Maybe we've just been too blind to see it. She stood up, wiping her eyes. I think you should see someone, a therapist, or maybe a priest, someone who can help you process whatever this was, whether it was real or a dream or a mental break or... It wasn't a mental break, I shouted, louder than I meant to. Sarah flinched, and I immediately regretted it. I lowered my voice. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But I know what I saw, and I know what I was told to do. I have to tell people. I have to warn them. Warn them about what? She asked, her voice rising now too. That the world is ending? That Jesus is coming back because some gray aliens told you so? People will think you're insane. They'll mock you. They'll destroy you. I don't care, I said, and I meant it. If even one person listens, if even one person prepares their heart for what's coming, then it's worth it. Sarah stared at me for a long time. Then she turned and walked out of the kitchen. I heard her footsteps on the stairs. I heard our bedroom door close, and I heard the lock click. I slept on the couch that night, and I knew that everything had changed. I didn't go to work the next day. I called in sick, which wasn't exactly a lie. I felt sick to my stomach, sick with dread, sick with the weight of what I'd been asked to do. Sarah left for her job at the bank without saying a word to me. She'd made coffee, but she hadn't poured me a cup. That hurt more than I wanted to admit. I sat at the kitchen table with my laptop, staring at the blank screen. The beings had told me to tell people. But how? I wasn't a writer. I didn't have a blog or a social media following. I was just a guy. And yet, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was running out of time. I started typing. It felt clumsy and wrong at first, but the more I wrote, the easier it became. I wrote about the light, the ship, the beings, the visions. I wrote about Jesus, about what they'd told me about his return, about the choice humanity would face. I wrote for 3 hours straight, barely pausing to breathe, until I had a document that was 10 pages long. My testimony. Then came the hard part, sharing it. I created a Facebook account. I'd never had one before, thought they were a waste of time, and I posted my story. I kept it public. I didn't care who saw it. That was the point. Within an hour, I had 3 comments. 2 of them were laughing emojis. The third said, "Lay off the drugs, bro." I tried Twitter. Same result. Reddit. YouTube comments. Everywhere I posted, the response was the same. Mockery, disbelief, cruelty. Someone made a meme out of my story. Someone else suggested I see a psychiatrist. And someone, God help me, doxed me. They found out where I lived, where I worked, Sarah's name. They posted it all online with the caption, "This nutjob thinks aliens told him about Jesus. Let's help him get the help he needs." My phone started ringing. Unknown numbers. I didn't answer. Then my brother called. Then my mom. Then my pastor. They'd all seen the posts. They were all concerned. Code for, they thought I'd lost my mind. By nightfall, I was sitting in the dark, staring at my phone, watching the notifications pile up. Hundreds of people calling me crazy. Dozens sharing my story as a joke. And not one, not a single person, saying they believed me. Sarah came home late. She didn't ask about my day. She just made herself dinner, ate in silence, and went upstairs. I heard the bedroom door lock again. I went back to the laptop and stared at the screen. Maybe they were right. Maybe I was crazy. Maybe it had been a dream, a hallucination, a psychotic break. Maybe I should delete everything, apologize, and try to put my life back together. But then I remembered the leader's words. Some will believe. And for those who do, it will be enough. So I kept the posts up, I kept writing, and I prayed that whoever needed to see it would find it. 3 days later, I got an email from someone who said, "I believe you." And I saw them too. Her name was Rachel. She lived 2 states away, in Pennsylvania, and she'd found my story through a random share on a UFO forum. Her email was short, careful, like she was afraid I wouldn't respond. She said she'd been taken too, 5 years ago, and that the beings had told her the same thing, that Jesus was returning and that she needed to prepare. I stared at the email for 10 minutes before I replied. My hands shook as I typed. "Tell me everything," I wrote. "I need to know I'm not alone." She responded within the hour. Her story was similar to mine. The light, the paralysis, the ship, the beings. But her visions had been different. She'd seen the earth healing. She'd seen people coming together, helping each other, worshiping in the streets as the figure of light descended. She'd seen hope where I'd seen destruction. And yet, the message was the same. He is coming. Be ready. We emailed back and forth for days. Then we moved to phone calls. Rachel was in her 30s, a nurse, divorced. No kids. She said the abduction had ruined her marriage. Her husband thought she was insane. Her friends stopped calling. She'd lost her job for a while because she couldn't stop talking about it. But she'd never stopped believing. And when she found my story, she said, she cried with relief because she finally knew she wasn't alone. Have you found others? I asked during one of our calls. A few, she said. There's a guy in Texas, another woman in Oregon. They've all been taken. They've all been shown something about the return. I think we're being gathered, like pieces of a puzzle. For what? I asked. To spread the message, she said. To warn people while there's still time. But how much time do we have? My voice cracked. They said soon. But what does that mean? A year? 10 years? Tomorrow? I don't know, Rachel admitted. But I feel it. Don't you? Like something is accelerating. The world feels like it's tipping towards something. The wars, the disasters, the division, it's all building to a crescendo. I did feel it. I'd felt it every day since the abduction. Like standing on train tracks and hearing the whistle in the distance, knowing something massive is coming, but not knowing when it'll arrive. We need to meet, Rachel said. All of us, everyone who's been shown. We need to figure out what we're supposed to do next. Where? I asked. There's a small church in West Virginia. The pastor there is sympathetic. He believes. He's offered to host us. Can you come? I looked around my empty house. Sarah had started staying late at her mother's most nights. My coworkers avoided me. My pastor had suggested I take a sabbatical from church. I had nothing left to lose. Yeah, I said. I'll come. Good, Rachel said, and I could hear the relief in her voice. Because I think we're running out of time. 2 weeks later, I drove 6 hours to a church in the middle of nowhere. And when I walked through the door, I saw 12 other people waiting. They all had the same look in their eyes, the look of people who'd seen something they couldn't unsee. We were the chosen witnesses, and our real work was about to begin. The church was small, old, tucked away in the hills where cell service barely reached. The pastor, a man in his 60s named David, greeted us with warmth and understanding. He didn't ask us to prove our stories. He simply believed. And that, more than anything, made me feel like I wasn't crazy. We sat in a circle in the basement, 13 of us, each carrying the weight of what we'd seen. We shared our stories, every detail, every vision, every word the beings had spoken. Some had seen destruction. Some had seen renewal. Some had seen Christ in glory. Some had seen him weeping. But every single one of us had been told the same thing. He is returning, and humanity must choose. So what do we do? Asked the man from Texas, a former Marine named Carl. How do we make people listen? We don't make them, Rachel said. We just plant the seeds. Some will grow, most won't. But that's not our responsibility. Our responsibility is to tell the truth. But what is the truth? A woman named Margaret asked. She was older, in her 70s, and her hands shook as she spoke. Are we saying Jesus is an alien? Are we saying the Bible is wrong? No, I said, and everyone turned to look at me. The beings made it clear. Jesus is not an alien. He's beyond all of that. He's the bridge between the Creator and creation. The Bible isn't wrong, it's just incomplete. It tells the story of his time on earth, but it doesn't tell the story of what he's been doing across the universe for the last 2,000 years. And it doesn't tell us what happens when he comes back. Then what does happen? Carl asked. I took a deep breath. The beings showed me two outcomes. In one, humanity recognizes him. They fall to their knees, they repent, they turn away from hatred and greed and violence, and the world is transformed. Not destroyed, transformed, healed, made new in the other outcome. I paused, the images flooding back. In the other outcome, people reject him. They choose the darkness, and the world tears itself apart. Not because he destroys it, but because we do. The room was silent. Pastor David stood and walked to the center of the circle. Then our message is simple, he said. Repent. Turn to the light. Prepare your hearts, because the King is coming home. We spent the rest of the night planning. We would write, post, speak, share, wherever and however we could. We would be mocked. We would be persecuted. But we would not be silent. Because somewhere out there, someone needed to hear this. Someone needed to be ready. As I drove home that night, the sky was clear and full of stars. I thought about Sarah. I thought about everyone who'd turned away from me. And I thought about the beings, watching from somewhere beyond the veil of space. I didn't know when Jesus would return, but I knew deep in my soul that it would be soon. And when the sky finally split open, when the trumpet sounded, when every knee bowed and every tongue confessed, I would be ready, because I had seen, and I believed, and nothing would ever be the same.